Okay, in this video we are looking at the LG Destiny and the LG Sunrise. So we're comparing these two phones simply because they're both LGs, and some people may wonder why one is more expensive than the other. The LG Sunrise, I think that one retails for $39.99, whereas the LG Destiny goes for $79.99, so essentially twice as much. And we'll go ahead and tell you why that is. Now, if you need to, about the only thing you need to know is that the LG Destiny is a far superior phone to the Sunrise. And of course you will pay for it, but I think you'll be much happier spending the extra money and getting the Destiny. Both of these phones have CDMA versions of them, meaning they both have Verizon versions of them. So the same goes for those two as well. These two are AT&T versions, so the LG Sunrise and the LG Destiny, those are the the AT&T versions. The LG Power and the LG Lucky are the Verizon versions of these phones, and the same goes for those as well. So the differences, for starters, on the Sunrise you have a 3.8 inch screen. On the Destiny you have a 4.5 inch screen. Not only is there a difference in size, but there's also a huge difference in resolution. The LG Destiny is a far better screen that's much clearer and sharper than the LG Sunrise. Next you have different Android versions. So Destiny has Android 5.0, that's the more or less the latest version of Android, which is Lollipop. This one has the older 4.4 KitKat. The processor, the Destiny has a 1.2 quad-core processor, whereas the Sunrise has a 1.2 dual-core processor. And then there's the camera. The LG Destiny has a 5 megapixel camera with a VGA front-facing camera, and it does have an LED flash. The Sunrise only has a 3 megapixel camera, no flash, no front-facing camera. And then the last thing worth mentioning is the data speeds. The Destiny is sold as a 4G phone, meaning data speeds in some areas will be a little bit higher than just standard 3G. So this is 4G, which is pretty much enhanced 3G. But so don't mistake this for an LTE phone, because this is not an LTE phone. The Sunrise, on the other hand, is just standard 3G. Though truth be told, you're not going to see a huge difference between either of these phones in terms of data speeds. Now, if we put the phones side by side, you immediately notice that one is much larger than the other, and that's because of the screen sizes. The one thing to note on the screens, which is a big deal I think, is the fact that the screen resolutions are much better on the Destiny. I don't know if you can see on the video, but on the video you may be able to tell that there's a slight bit of graininess on the Sunrise that you don't see on the Destiny, and you'll definitely need to see that in person, which in this case you may never see it in person, because I would definitely not recommend the Sunrise over the Destiny. One thing where you will notice a huge difference, and I won't really show it on the video because you won't be able to tell, and that's when you're watching like YouTube videos and that kind of thing. For some reason on the Sunrise, the screen is much darker when you watch videos, and that's probably because of the smaller resolution due to the smaller screen. Another big difference between these phones is the performance. Of course, one has a quad-core processor, the other has a dual-core processor, and just in regular stuff like this, you can't tell. It's not a big deal. But when you get into some of the more demanding games and such, you will find that the Sunrise is going to suffer a little bit in that regard. And then lastly is the design. While I do like compact phones, this is of course a more dated design. It's very typical of just about every entry-level Android really that's been out for the last 3-4 years. So there's not much by way of cool design here on the Sunrise. Whereas on the Power and the Destiny, this one here's the Destiny, you have a pretty cool design in that, for one, you got the floating buttons at the bottom, so they're part of the screen. Here you have the prototypical Android buttons that you always find below the screen. Next are the buttons, or the way that the buttons are. On the Destiny, the buttons are all in the back, so there's your power button, and these are your volume buttons. So you can see that that's very different from your typical phone. Whereas the Sunrise has the typical volume on the left, and the power is on the right hand side there. The headphone jack on both phones and the charge port is in the same place on both phones. So I think that about wraps up this video. If I were to recommend one, I would definitely recommend the LG Destiny over the LG Sunrise. That said, the LG Sunrise is pretty much half the price, and the phone performed well. It does have its shortcomings, which I talked about mainly in the video department. So I would say, even though it's half the price, you definitely get more than half the phone. So if you're in a restricted budget and you're thinking about that phone and that's all you can spend, then I would say it's a fine phone. There's nothing wrong with it. But if you want my opinion, whether to get one or the other, like I said, I would definitely go with the LG Destiny.